Philippines, there's a dry season that usually coincides with early spring. This one has been especially hot, with temperatures pushing into the high 90s and feeling like the low hundreds, and the heat and the dryness have caused water levels at a dam in the northern part of the country to sink down. That recently revealed a town that had stood for centuries before the dam was built. When that happened in the 1970s, the community was relocated because officials knew it'd be flooded. But its ruins lay quietly under the waves, waiting to re-emerge on unusual occasions when water levels sank back down. Local officials say under normal conditions, only the tip of the old church's cross can be seen. Now, the rubble of its structure, along with the foundations of the other buildings that used to stand here, are exposed for anyone to see. And that's a good thing for communities nearby. As the ruins attract tourists, Filipinos with boats are able to earn money by ferrying people to and from the island, at least until the rains return and the waters rise, cloaking the historic community once more. So glad you could start off a new week with us. This is The World from A to Z, your non-partisan source for news and global events. And I'm Carl Azuz from the World A to Z studio near Atlanta, Georgia. From that low water level location in the Philippines, we're crossing the Pacific to report on some areas covered in floodwaters. In the southern part of the South American nation of Brazil, the government says almost a foot of rain has fallen over the past week. The state of Rio Grande do Sul has seen intense and widespread flooding, with the river that runs through the capital hitting its highest levels ever recorded. Something like this hit the area before, back in 1941, but this time around the river's even higher. As a result of the flooding, officials say at least 75 lives have been lost since last Monday, and more than 100 people are still missing. Tens of thousands have had to leave their homes, and ABC News reports that more than 420,000 houses have lost power, while twice that many have no running water. In several cities, roads were washed out and bridges were destroyed. The continued rain over the weekend didn't make rescue efforts any easier, and as far as recovery goes, Brazilian officials expect the effort will need to be tremendous. Similar scenes were playing out over the weekend about 5,000 miles northwest of there, in parts of the U.S. state of Texas. It's the same cause, days of heavy rain across the southeastern part of the state. And while no deaths or major injuries had been reported there by the time we produced this show, authorities say more than 220 people had to be rescued from homes or cars in high waters, and some were comparing the effects to those of Hurricane Harvey, which made landfall here and in Louisiana in 2017 and brought rivers to the levels they hit in recent days.
Evacuations in parts of Texas after rivers surge to Hurricane Harvey levels. Officials say residents who don't evacuate must be prepared to stay in place for several days.
We need you to plan to stay in place for 2 to 3 days, or if you can't do that, we need you to leave.
According to the National Weather Service, rainfall totals reached nearly 2 feet of rain in 5 days. Some communities north of Houston picked up nearly 2 months' worth of rain Thursday. Rainfall plunged roadways underwater and forced rivers to overflow, leading to evacuations.
And we don't know what it's going to be like when we get back in there. So.
And if the house is gone, where do we go?
Some residents even had to be rescued due to the fast rising water.
What happened is I got caught up with, the fast rising water. So I had to stay there overnight.
Millions are under flood alerts across Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas, and disaster declarations are active for over a third of Texas counties.
On this date in world history. Rome wasn't built in a day, but the city was sacked in a day, and that was on this date in 1527. There were tensions between Charles V, who was the Holy Roman Emperor, and Pope Clement VII, who lived in Rome. The Pope had teamed up with other countries to challenge Charles's strength, and that had strained their relationship at the time when Charles's mercenary forces brutally attacked Rome. Many scholars see the city's fall as the end of the Renaissance in Italy. Over in France, the Eiffel Tower officially opened to the public on this date in 1889. It was built for the International Exposition of that year, also known as the Paris World's Fair, and at the time it was the tallest man-made structure on Earth. And the Hindenburg disaster occurred on May 6th in 1937. As the huge German airship attempted to land in Lakehurst, New Jersey, it burst into flames, killing 36 people. Of those who'd been aboard, 62 survived. And while it's a mystery of history why the incident occurred, cameras were there and recording when it did.
Word and knowledge. Which of these volcanoes is located on the Pacific Ring of Fire? Mount Etna, Mount Kilauea, Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount Fuji. Scientists say even though it's surrounded by the Ring of Fire, Hawaii's Mount Kilauea isn't actually on it, leaving Japan's Mount Fuji as the answer.
A Japanese town with a unique view of Mount Fuji is blocking part of it off. Officials are putting up a large black screen to discourage tourists from taking pictures in a popular spot. That spot is at a Lawson convenience store. At the right angle, the mountain looks like it's sitting on top of the building, and after pictures of that went viral, people started flocking to the area to get their own shots in front of Mount Fuji Lawson. Here's the problem, according to the town. The tourists are causing traffic problems on the road, parking illegally, littering, and hanging out on private property. The Associated Press says officials hired a security guard to try to control the crowds and set up a crosswalk with instructions in multiple languages. When that didn't work, they decided it was screen time. Critics say the decision was too drastic and that the town could have made do with road barriers. Supporters say it was necessary in part because people were taking pictures there even when it was cloudy and you couldn't see Mount Fuji. It's not just a social media thing in one place. Overtourism at the landmark itself has become a problem.
Long lines of people winding up the side of Mount Fuji. You'd think this is a tour group, but it's just the number of hikers trekking up Japan's tallest mountain on any given day. Overcrowding has become a major issue. Hikers arrive by the busload and begin their ascent. Along the trail are overwhelmed toilet facilities and piles of litter, and more traffic results in a higher likelihood of accidents.
If large numbers of people end up in a human traffic jam below the summit, there could be jostling and falls or falling rocks, which could lead to serious accidents.
To ease congestion, the local government instituted mandatory waiting times at rest areas along the route, but further restrictions are needed. Many support a reservation system, similar to what popular hikes in the United States have adopted. Angel's Landing in Zion National Park and Half Dome in Yosemite require hiking permits, allowing the parks to control the number of hikers on the trails. Many hikers don't make it all the way to Fuji's summit, but it's still crowded.
It was the first time I'd been up there, so I don't know what it's usually like, but in the morning and evening, when everyone was trying to reach the summit, the crowds were pretty crazy. There were so many people that you couldn't move forward.
The Yamanashi Prefecture government is working with police to decide how best to monitor trail use and enforce hiker limits. The challenge is to give as many as possible the chance to take on this volcano hike while ensuring safety and protecting the natural beauty of the mountain.
Arizona's nickname is the Grand Canyon State because, well, and it's there that Alice Vale Middle School is watching Miss Bryant's class. Great to see y'all in Tucson. To the Lone Star State of Texas, Mrs. Constantine's students are online in Abilene. Great to see everyone at Wiley West High School. And we wrap up at Davis High School. It's in the friendly state of Utah, and it's where Mrs. Dersha's class is with us from the city of Kaysville. We don't know if the star of our solar system was ready for its close-up, but it definitely got it last fall when this video was taken from the European Space Agency's Solar Orbiter, a $1.5 billion spacecraft built with a contribution from NASA. The footage was just released, and it shows features like coronal rain, which is probably pretty warm, and what scientists are calling a small eruption of the sun, which is believed to be bigger than our entire planet. It radiates brightness to the core, leaving the most enlightened scientists seeing sunspots. The pictures are stellar, if a little monochromatic. I guess you can't really expect colors like ultraviolet to shine through when they're eclipsed by radiation all yell over the place. I'm Carl Azuz, and we hope you've taken a shine to the world and beyond from A to Z. Means the world to have you watching.